Всем привет! Welcome to our last case, the prepositional case. Now, not the last tutorial. There's going to be a lot more tutorials in this series. And by the way, if you are not familiar with this tutorial series, please go to the video description and find the link and kind of like explore it and go step by step to master the system of the Russian cases. Okay, without further ado, let's go to our last case.
If you like it, please click like. If it is, hold it up a line. If you love it, hit subscribe. Like me, подпишись и комментарий напиши.
All right, here we are, and our last case is the prepositional case. Now, once again, here we're talking about the three most basic contexts for each case, and then we're going to work through all of the endings, and after that, we are going to go back and look at more contexts for each case, because remember, as I said right here, there are more than three contexts for each case, but for now, we are focusing on just three. Okay, so our first context for the prepositional case is the words that follow the preposition about and kind of like form a chunk. So when in English you say blah, blah, blah about you, blah, blah, blah about the history, about blah, blah, blah about my friend. So these words that directly follow about are going to be in the prepositional case. So for example, here I have an example. Я читаю о России и Москве. I'm reading about Russia and Moscow. So here it's clear that I'm reading about Russia and I'm reading about Moscow. So both words go with the preposition about, and both words are going to be in the prepositional case. Second sentence. Я редко говорю о проблемах. I rarely talk about problems. So here the word problems follows the preposition about. So the word problems, when you translate the sentence into Russian, is going to be in the prepositional case. So whatever follows the preposition about and kind of like forms a chunk with it is going to be in the prepositional case. Okay, our next context is playing a musical instrument. And in English, you just say the instrument. You say, I play piano, I play trombone, I play guitar. But in Russian, we use a preposition na, and then the musical instrument in the prepositional case. So for example, here we have John играет на гитаре. John plays guitar. Well, literally we're saying John plays on the guitar. And Mary играет на барабанах. Mary plays drums. Again, in English, that's just three words. In Russian, we have to use this additional preposition na, and then the word drums will be in the prepositional case. Now, sometimes I'm being asked, like, we say musical instrument. Why isn't it instrumental? Because didn't we just have that when you use something as an instrument, that should be instrumental? And remember how I said here we're talking about like using something as a tool to complete some action. That's instrumental. But when we talk about a musical instrument, yes, it is kind of like the tool of creating music. But if you think about it, like how Russians think about it, it's more of a location for creating music. So when you're playing the drums, you're kind of like hitting that location to create music. When you're playing the piano, kind of like the same thing. And I know we cannot like completely apply this reasoning to everything, but if that helps you understand, hopefully it will. Now, let me give you an example when we use a guitar as an actual instrument. So for instance, here we have John играет на гитаре. So John plays guitar as a musical instrument. But let's say John was coming back from a rehearsal and some thugs wanted to, I don't know, am I allowed to say this word? Some, bandits, some criminals decided to approach John and rob him. And he just grabbed his guitar and just like hit them. Okay, so here he wasn't using the guitar to play music. He was using it as an instrument to protect himself. So here, when he hit somebody with a guitar, that would be the use for the instrumental case, not for the prepositional case. But when he's playing the guitar, that's the na plus the prepositional. Okay, and the last context just for this presentation, for the prepositional case is using the prepositions v and na when we talk about a location. And in this context, v and na will mean in or at some location. So remember when we talked about the accusative case, we used exactly the same prepositions, v and na, but we had it in the meaning of to, going to a place, going to a destination. So here we're using exactly the same prepositions, but when we are at a location or in a location. For example, here I can say «Я живу в России, в Москве». I live in Russia, in Moscow. So Russia and Moscow are locations for me living. Yeah, so where do I live? I live in Russia. Where do I live? I live in Moscow. Fixed location. Мой брат работает в банке. My brother works at a bank. Again, there's the bank, and inside of it, there is my brother working. That's the location for his work. That's when we use the prepositional case. For instance, if I say, I'm going to the bank, that's going to be my destination. So that will be в на plus accusative, or in this case, в, я иду в банк. But when we're at the bank, that's the location, and that's when we use the prepositional case. Okay, we're done with the basic contexts. Let me switch the screens. Okay, so I switched the screen. So here is our next task. So first of all, as always, in the comments to this video, write your sentences in English and put in caps the words that will be in the prepositional case when you translate that sentence into Russian. You do not have to translate it. You just have to indicate the word that will be in the prepositional case. Now, you also have another task for the next time. So here we have the next worksheet that we'll be working with. And again, it's linked in the description. So here we have 16 sets of sentences. And what I want you to do is to go through them. And as you can see, we have two sentences. And in both sentences, we have the same word in bold. For example, my mom or table. And here in the middle, we have words same or different. So you have to decide if the words in these sentences are in the same case or in different cases. And then you have to figure out which case. Do not translate it just yet. So our first step is to really wrap our mind around cases. And I have no idea where my chart is. Here you go. So, and use this chart that we just worked with to figure out which context we have here. So, do your best. Try to wrap your mind around it. If it's going to get hard, re-watch the tutorials about the cases that we, had together the last 6 tutorials. And that would be a good practice with the cases. And I know we're going slowly, and I know we haven't even gotten to like really translating the sentences just yet, but bear with me. Sometimes going slower is much better for the final result. Okay. Don't forget to complete this, and I will see you next time. Пока-пока.
If you like it, please click like.